Welcome back to Hannity. The DNC chairman, Tom Perez, he continues to spew his hateful, his nasty rhetoric about Republicans. Now, watch what he said last night about the GOP budget while on the DNC so-called unity tour. Watch this.
It's stupid. They call their budget a skinny budget. I call their budget a shitty budget because it doesn't treat people well.
And on Monday night's leg of the tour, Perez echoed his familiar profanity-laced rant against the president and Republicans. What a nice guy. Take a look.
He wants to brand everything. You know, you can go to the store and find Trump steaks. You know, Trump steak knives, Trump ties, Trump suits, you know, the Trump hotel. But he didn't want the Affordable Care Act branded after him. I don't know what to call it. Trump Care, Ryan Care. I'll tell you what I'd call it. I don't care, because those Republican leaders and President Trump don't give a about the people they were trying to hurt. That's what I say.
All right, here with reaction, we have former Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski, former Obama economic advisor Austin Goolsbee. All right, Austin, you're a fair guy. This is just the facts here, and the facts are simple. Number one, the average cost, the average American family didn't save $2,500 per year as promised, but they pay $5,400 more per year since Obamacare took place. Millions lost their plans. Millions lost their doctors. So, all right, Trump doesn't support a failed system. And in states like Arizona this year alone, it's going up another 117%. So, you know, what is he defending here?
Well, wait a minute. You just changed the whole subject. I mean, he's not wrong about the Republican budget. We can go through that if you want. It is a kind of a massacre budget that contradicts a whole bunch of the things that Trump promised in the campaign.
Is he going to double the debt like your buddy Obama did? And Obama said $9 trillion in debt was irresponsible and unpatriotic, and then he doubled it, took on more debt than every other president before him combined.
As you know, that those big deficits were when we were in the worst recession of our lifetimes, which he inherited. And after the recession ended, he cut the deficit by more than in half.
8 years of $10 trillion in debt is
Bush's fault. Donald Trump is going to do that, Sean, to answer your question. That's exactly what his budget is planning.
All right, Corey, here's the thing. These promises were made about Obamacare. The promises were never delivered. Obama took on more debt than 43 presidents before him combined. He said that $9 trillion in debt was irresponsible and unpatriotic. I don't know how you can do much worse than that.
Well, Sean, you can't. And what we know is that, you know, time and time again, the previous administration lied to the American people. You can't keep your doctor. You can't keep your plan. We're now a country that has $20 trillion in debt. We bring in $4 trillion a year. And to put that in perspective, if we never spent another dime, just brought in the money, it would take us 5 years of income just to get whole again. It's unsustainable. It's all because the previous administration's priorities were wrong. And what we've seen in this administration's priorities are increasing money to the military so that our men and women who put on the uniform have the best resources necessary to protect us against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. That's the priority of this administration, making sure that the people who are out protecting us have the tools necessary. That is a complete dichotomy from what the previous administration was.
All right, so here's a very simple question, Austin, and I know you can do this math. You don't need an abacus. You don't even need the calculator on your iPhone. You can do this in your head. So when Obama was a candidate, he said $9 trillion in debt. That's irresponsible. That's unpatriotic. And he leaves and it's $20 trillion. And he accumulates more debt than any other president before him combined. Now, let me concede that maybe the first 2 years, some of that debt was because of the conditions he incurred. At what point do you say? At what point do you say he's responsible for the other $8 trillion in debt? Good question.
At what point? I mean, you're asking when does
he had 8 years to fix the economy. We have millions more in poverty, millions more on food stamps, the lowest labor participation rate ever.
So the only reason I'm puzzled is, are you giving him no credit for cutting the deficit more than in half by the end of his first term?
Well, now we're playing word games because cutting it in half.
I'm just looking at the numbers. The debt
let me give you the numbers.
Deficit.
In the 8 years of Obama, he accumulated more debt than every president before him combined.
Okay, and
you want to say, oh, but he cut the deficit in half.
We've had this conversation before, Sean. You're mixing up inflation and, you know, the fact that when my grandpa went to the movies, it cost a nickel. You can't compare debt from 1776. So what you
I'm just comparing it from 2007.
The deficits have been cut in half. Donald Trump promised to eliminate
but he still doubled the debt.
It's a complete
He still doubled the debt. Wait a minute. Hey, Corey, lend him your iPhone,
the biggest
Corey.
recession of our lifetimes. That makes
Corey,
the yearly deficit bigger.
Sean, I went to a public school.
If we go from $9 trillion to 20, isn't that doubling the debt? That's not cutting the deficit in half.
Any way you slice it. And look, this is the great part about the liberals. They always like to blame Bush for everything that went wrong in the Obama administration. The fact is, we have $20 trillion in debt. That was not the number when George W. Bush left office. It was $9 trillion. Again, I went to a public school. I'm not great at math. 20 trillion is greater than 9 trillion. There's no reduction there. There's an $11 trillion increase in 8 years. At some point, Barack Obama and his administration
those aren't the same thing.
Has to look. It's $20 trillion in debt that this previous administration left us.
Are not the same thing.
I think I'm going to go get a drink as soon as the show's done. Thank you for being
20 trillion.